Hey, nah. You get these to the sisters.
There's a lot of them. This is.
Well, they might have it already. They might already have it.
I'm just telling you.
We need to make more. You gotta run this off. Shalom. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. So, sisters, if y'all need more copies, y'all gotta let us know so we can make some more copies. Everybody needs a copy of this because it's gonna make it easier going through the book. All right. The 5 legal rulings in Islam. So before we start, the chapter Nikah, we started last week, the beginning, and we're going to do a quick rehash, a quick review of what we did last week. Because this is a chapter, if you don't have to miss a class, you don't want to miss a class. It's a lot of issues. It's a whole lot of issues. Many of them are connected. So if you don't have to miss a class, it's better not to. So firstly, we're not going to go through the 5 rulings because they're in front of you. That's going to take too much time. I say, what's the ruling on getting married? It depends. Jade. That's good. It depends is good. That's good. It depends. That's better than just, right? It depends on what? The person. Depends on the person, right? How dire the need is. So if a person fears that they're going to actually fall into zina, they're going to fall into fornicating. A person thinks if they don't get married, they just going to go have sex with somebody, anybody they can find. If a person fears that, then what is the rule on that person getting married? Wajib, meaning what? Wajib, meaning according to what's wajib on this paper. Wajib mean what wajib is on this paper. Okay? It's obligatory in that case for a person to get married. But if they don't fear they're going to do that, they got a desire, but I don't think it's going to go that far, then the ruling becomes what? Mubah, which is, La, not mubah. Mandub, recommended. Tayyib. We mentioned, or we went through the description of the wife, the zoja, the spouse, what a man should be looking for, right? What was the first thing that he mentioned that a man should be looking for? And what was the descriptions, right? He said they were what? Which one of the 5 did the descriptions fall under? Which one of the 5? Meaning, off of the 5 rulings in Islam, they said if you're looking for if the man is looking for a wife, they said it should have certain descriptions, right? The question is, does she have to have the descriptions on here? Is it obligatory for a woman to have these descriptions that he mentioned last week? It's recommended that she are the following things, right? That it was what? The first thing he said is recommended that he marry 1, right? It says it's recommended that the man marries 1. He said also she should be a person of good stock, as we say. She comes from a good family, right? She comes from an honorable family, right? She should be a woman of deen. All of these are what? Recommended traits that a man should be looking for. Meaning, if a man married a woman and she didn't carry these traits, she didn't have these characteristics, is it allowed for him to marry her? Everybody understand? That's what we got to understand about these rulings. If he says recommended, yusannu nikah recommended for a man to marry one?
It's a possibility he won't be just.
It's a possibility he won't be just. So what they're saying is, if a man marries more than one wife, he puts himself in a position where it's possible he can oppress one of his wives. Tayyip. And we're going to peel back a couple of these. There's some issues, like we said last week. This is a beginner's book, right? The beginner's book, as we said last week, what's the purpose of the beginner's book? To build your foundation. I know I didn't say that, but I'm listening. I say something specific. The beginner books, all of the beginner books, right? Number one, a book like this doesn't contain what? It's no, not you. It's no what? It's no dalil. Don't mention any dalil in this book intentionally. Okay? Why? You got to understand that when we're going through a book like this. There's no dalil mentioned in this book because the most important thing right now is for everybody to understand the intent of the author. What is the issue we're talking about, firstly? Before we start bringing everything and what this one said, no. The author brings a statement. First thing we need to do is understand what the author's saying. That's the first thing. And then we can go further. The further we go, right, the more dalil is going to come and the more khilaf, difference of opinion, the more conversation and debate. Clear? Tayyib. In this chapter, y'all, because there's a lot of issues coming up, we got to do a couple things. This is a mature conversation. This is a mature conversation. Anybody getting married, got to have a level of maturity, right? Even if it's kids, it has to be a level of maturity. We got to be realistic. We got to be real about our situation where we living at, because we don't live our life in books, right? The knowledge in the books is supposed to benefit us when we come outside and live like Muslims, right? We don't live in these books, right? We go outside and we live real lives, okay? So this has to be applied in our lives, all right? So we got to be realistic. We got to understand that none of this, y'all, is personal. None of this is personal, okay? It ain't personal. It's not about what I'm more comfortable with. What does Islam allow and what doesn't Islam allow? That's what we need to do first. So first we got to get a skeleton and understand what the Sharia says. And then after that, we can move on. Tayyib. So the last issue we did last week was when a man is proposed, he proposes to a woman, and it looks like they're going to get married. Then he's allowed to see what? Let me ask you a question. How many things? Sisters? Huh? 3? 4. Sahih. He's allowed to see 4 things. If y'all need to, you can use the mic. That's why the mic is there. But they don't want to pass it around. That's on y'all. The mic is there. Y'all got to turn on and use it. Tayyib. A man's allowed to see 4 things, right? And that's the last issue we covered, looking at the woman. The man looking at the woman that he proposes to. Now we got to go back to 2 issues before we move on. We got to do these issues because not every issue, but some of the issues are issues for us in our communities. And when there are issues like that, we got to deal with them. We can't just leave them surfacey like that, okay? The first issue is the author says it's recommended to marry how many wives? 1. And he gave his reasoning because it puts a man in position, possibly, not definitely, but basically he's saying that you open yourself up to oppress somebody, one of your wives. Tell you got to add on to that. It's recommended for him to marry 1. Add on to that if his current wife, as they say, yakfihi, if she's enough for him, if she's enough to keep his gaze lowered, if she's enough to keep his sex drive under control. Clear? Everybody clear? This is the position of what? That is recommended to marry one if she's enough. Oh, we understand what enough means. All right? If she's enough to keep his gaze lowered, she's enough to keep, he's able to keep his desire under control with one woman. Clear? Tayyib. That's the call of the author. That's the position of the author. And of course, there are other scholars who say that it is recommended to marry two. It's recommended to marry two wives, two women. Tayyib. A real issue is, as they mentioned in the text, that a man may have a strong sex drive, lahu quwwa, as they say, right? We do know this, right? We do know that there's a woman's sex drive and a man has a sex drive, right? It's not nothing new, right? This is real stuff. And if the man has a sex drive that his current wife is not able to suppress, it's not enough for him, right? Islam is for all times and all places. This is important to understand. Before Islam, the men used to marry as many women as they wanted to in Jahiliyyah. And then the Sharia came and regulated it to 4. Why? As they explain, most men are satisfied. If he had to go to 4, that's going to satisfy most men. Okay? But why even more than one? The reality is a man's sex drive is higher than a woman. Right? Now, if I say it, it sounds crazy, but if a doctor say it, right? You go to the doctor and they say it, it's like, oh, okay, alhamdulillah. But Islam came, and Islam and law already knew that. It's in the Quran, right? Therefore, if the man feels like that it's not enough, one woman is not enough, one wife is not enough. We're not talking about girlfriends, y'all. We're talking about marriage, right? And all the responsibilities that come with marriage, right? If that's the case, even those scholars of Islam who say it's recommended to marry one, even them, they say it's recommended to marry one if she's enough for him. If that's enough, if he's able to control his desire, she suppresses his desire, she keeps his gaze lowered, right? If that's the case, then he should marry one. That's what they're saying. Tayyib. And then we have the other group of scholars who say, Bel, it says, Waqila al-mustahab ithnatan. Some say that what is recommended, not obligatory, what's recommended is 2 wives, right? Just like in reality, just like as they say, kama lo lam tu'iffahu. Just like if his first wife was not enough for him, that is recommended for him to take 2, right? Some say from the rip, off rip, that is better for him to marry 2. Clear? Everybody clear? Questions so far? Everybody see the difference? Tayyib. Unfortunately, we've made what is called in Arabic at-ta'addud. We've made plural marriage something that is negative and looked down on in our time. Allah musta'an. And this may be the time when it's most needed, possibly. Allahu a'lam. This is a time maybe when it's needed, right? And we've made it into something that is negative and looked down on. And in reality, Allah is Al-Hakim. Allah is the all-wise, right? And Allah knows the servants, the slaves. Allah created men, He created women, right? And Allah made it allowed in cases to marry more than one wife. What's the hukum on it? It's allowed. When we talking about what's better now, right? What's better? It depends. It depends. So in reality, we need to understand that Islam already gave us what we need to function in our marriages. We don't need to go to a doctor who's not even a Muslim to tell us what we should do and what we shouldn't do. Because the doctor's not going to tell you to get married. The doctor might not tell you to get married, right? People who don't, non-Muslims, they don't have a problem with side women and stuff like that. Islam doesn't allow that. What Islam does is allow the man to marry another woman. And with that comes everything inside of the chapter. Everything in the marriage chapter relates to whether he's married to one woman or 3 or 4 women. It's not just if you're married to one woman. These are the rules. These are the rules between marriages, whether it's a plural marriage or it's not. طيب, clear? Any questions? So طيب. So a person gonna say, for example, it's recommended to marry one woman. Correct? Some of the scholars say it's recommended to marry one woman, correct? Huh? Last week I said wording is very important. Wording is very important. It is recommended to marry one woman. This is one position, correct? Just like that? Huh? Sisters? Huh? What conditions? If she's enough. I don't want to say it like that, but that's how it's translated. That might, right? If she keeps his desire suppressed and controlled. If the man comes and the man says to his wife he wants to marry another woman, that means, right? That means that his desire and his drive is high enough where he feels like he doesn't do anything haram, right? We're not going to push any of us to do anything haram, right? So they say if the woman is enough to keep the man's desire under control, then he should marry one. And if not, they say he still should marry more. Clear? Fadda. Yes.
What if the first wife is enough? They just want to marry another one.
If the first wife, she does keep his desire controlled, but he just wants to marry another woman. Well, we have to use everything matches, y'all. No secret knowledge. What is the ruling on the man marrying one woman? It's recommended anyway. So there's nothing preventing the man just because a man, if he just wants to marry another wife, he can, if he chooses to. And with him marrying another wife, all of the responsibility that he had with the first wife comes with the second wife. It's not like because he marries a second wife, she like gets less rights or something like that. Like she's going to get less than the first wife, right? So even if that wasn't the case, they're saying it's recommended, and that's why these words are important. The ruling is very important, so that we don't get up and say, because we say stuff like we said last week. We say stuff like, "You can't be doing that. You can't do that." What does that mean Islamically, right? Everybody with me? Clear? So even if the man decided to marry another woman, then Islamically, in that case, it's allowed. It's allowed. Is that the best thing to do for that man at that point in his life, in that situation? Allah alam. Every case is different. But at the least we know, is he allowed to do that? He's allowed to do that. Clear? Tayyib. That was the first issue that we glazed over, because the most important thing, y'all, even when we do this, when we go back over stuff, the first thing you got to understand, the first thing we're going to do is what the author said first. Lock that in. Like we came in, we know from last week, we said what? The author said you can see 4 things from a woman, right? That's what we want to know. You want to have that here. And then everything that comes after that is just a build on top of that. Okay? Clear? Questions? That was the first thing. And in reality, y'all, all of this is going to come back again when we go through Path of the Wayfarer. It's going to come from a little different angle, but it's going to come again. These same issues are going to come back over again. So it's almost like we're going to do a lot of these issues twice, inshallah. Tayyib. The next issue that we did last week was, that we didn't really go in on, is the nather. When a man, and he mentioned what? Is close now. They've been sitting, they've been, right? And it looks like he's going to propose to her. He thinks he's going to answer. She's going to accept the proposal. At that point, he can see what? 4 things, right? What were the 4 things that the author said he can see? The collarbone. The collarbone. Huh?
Hands, feet.
The hands, the feet, the head, her face, The neck area. طيب. Yeah, that's good. I don't know. With the hands, according to the author, they say at that point, we're not talking about the first time you go in there and sit with her, like the first time you see her, right? I'm talking about the way we do things. We have what? Sit downs. We ain't getting into that. It's a sit down, Sheikh. We have sit downs. Tell you have a sit down. You know each other from a can of paint. You go in there, right? You say, listen, I need to see your face, your hands, your feet, and your neck. She like, no, right? They say at this point, this is when it's looking like it's going, as we say, go down. It's looking like she's going to accept the proposal, and it looked like y'all get ready to get married. But it's possible you didn't really see her. It's possible she had a niqab on the whole time, right? It's possible, right? Or it's possible she came in the room and y'all sat and she turned to the side, Shway, didn't really look in your face. All that's possible, right? So the author mentioned 4 things. طيب. Other ulama mention that you can see more than those 4, right? And this is based on a hadith. It says, روى جابر قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا خطب أحدكم المرأة فإن استطاع أن ينظر إلى ما يدعوه إلى نكاحها فليفعل. He said, if one of you proposes to a woman for marriage, right, and you're able to see from her what is going to encourage you to marry her, then you should do it. And there are other hadith about the another, that you should look at the woman before you marry her. It might sound crazy, y'all, but people marry women and they never saw them before. Generally, the woman can see the man. The man doesn't. I mean, now we got masks and stuff like that, but generally, the woman can see at least the face of the man. It's possible a woman wears niqab, the man never sees her, right? So let's just say everything goes well, look like they're going to get married. Should he marry her without ever seeing her? I'll rephrase the question. Can a man marry a woman without ever seeing her face? Can he? Of course he can. He can, right? He can do that. Should he do that? Yeah, he shouldn't do that. No, this is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, if you propose to a woman and you're able to see something from her that's going to that's going to encourage you to marry her, then you should look at her. You should look at those things, what's going to cause you to want to marry her. طيب. He says, Jabir, قال فخطبت امرأة. He says, so I proposed to a woman فكنت أتخبأ لها حتى رأيت منها ما دعاني إلى نكاحها فتزوجتها. And this is in Sahih, I'm sorry, in the Sunnah of Abu Dawood. Jabir says, so I proposed to a woman and I looked at her and she didn't know I was looking at her. I looked at her and she didn't know that I was looking at her. Right? Everybody with me? He looked at her and she didn't know he was looking. What's the benefit of that? Sisters, what's the benefit of a man seeing you and you don't know he's looking at you? Shyness. You gotta use the mic. I can't hear you, sisters. Hold on.
If the man's not pleased with her, then she won't know.
Jade. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe what he sees is not, as we say, is not his cup of tea. Maybe he's not really attracted to her, right? And therefore, he don't have to come in front of her, look at her, and say, "Oh no, this ain't gonna work." Astaghfirullah. My bad. Yes, wait, sit down.
Is she covered or uncovered? Meaning face veil, niqab, or
MashaAllah. She's not covered. He goes, right? And this is what's mentioned in the details of this issue. He goes to her wali, and her wali says, yes, you can see. I'm going to tell her to come downstairs. Stand over there. Right? What's the benefit of the man seeing her and the woman doesn't know he's looking? Anybody? This is not a trick question, y'all. It's not a trick question. This is a real question.
So she won't know that he's not pleased with her if he isn't pleased with her.
Here, all right, something else though. No. Come on, y'all. You get a good look. He could have got a good look, and while she was there. How? Maybe something was blocking her. Huh? There you go. She didn't get a chance to beautify and enhance herself. He wanted to see her in her natural state. Right? What's wrong with that? The man want to see her in her natural state. Right? Especially the time we living in. Eyelashes, makeup, we got all kinds of stuff. All kinds of filters and all that. I seen her. I said, yo, did you meet her? You meet her. I met her on Instagram. Did you see her? No. I mean, I saw a picture of her. On Insta, you saw a picture? You went off a picture? Pictures her face super clear and not one speck on it. Right? And then he see her and it's not that. So from the benefit, it's not. From the benefit is that, right? If he see her and he's not pleased with her, then there's no hard feelings like that. Right? On top of that, he wants to make sure, right, that he can see her possibly without all the makeup on, no enhancements. This is who I'm marrying. Right? So in that situation, he saw her and she didn't know he was looking. So it says, وَلَا بَتْ بِالنَّظَرِ إِلَيْهَا بِإِذْنِهَا وَغَيْرِ إِذْنِهَا. This shows, the hadith proves what? This hadith where the man said that Jabir, he said, I saw her and I was, as he says, I was hidden. I was hidden. She didn't know I was looking. This proves what? What's permissible? For him to see her without her permission. Everybody clear? He didn't inform her he was going to look at her. Right? Also, the Prophet ﷺ said, of course, we did that last week, that they shouldn't be alone when the looking takes place. The another. Of course, they shouldn't be alone. Right? Bila khalwa. The author mentioned that last week. Also, lahu taqrar an-nadhr ilayha. When he sees her, how many times is he allowed to see her? How many times is he allowed to see her? Sister, how many times can he come look at you? Like, can't hear you on the mic. Hold 3? He says 3. MashaAllah. Brother says 3. I'm just asking. I'm just curious. Why 3? Huh? I know what people say back in the day. 3 is the sunnah. They say 3 is the sunnah. Huh? How many times is a man allowed to see the woman that, remember, with all the conditions, he proposed to her and he thinks they're going to get married. It's looking like it's great. They're going to get married. We're not talking about just looking at women just going, let me see, just grabbing looks. We're talking about a serious proposal and it looks like they're going to get married. How many times can he look at her? The brother says 3. Huh? Huh? As much as is needed for him to make sure that, right, it is what he thought it was. Clear? Everybody clear? طيب. Yes, Father.
Once you say you determine or you want to marry him, is there a time span to marry him?
Is there a time span?
Yeah,
Like, do they have to get married within the next?
brother said it takes at least 6 months.
That varies. He said, is it a time span on when the marriage should occur or how long it should take you to know her?
No, when it should occur.
It's nothing set in stone to say, for example, y'all got to be married within the next 3 months. Y'all got to be married in the next 6 months. It depends. Maybe the woman's talking to the man and she don't really get enough information to know if she's okay with him. People doing homework. The homework taking a little longer than I thought it was going to take. But I can't marry until I figure this out. I got to know if this is the case or not with her. Because somebody, I heard something. I got to make sure that that's not that. And if it take me 3 months to figure out, then it's going to have to be 3 months down the line. So it's nothing etched in stone to say that it has to be within the next 6 months. It has to be within a year. That's on them. That's on the man and the woman who intending to get married.
I was told the 4 things. Knowledge, her lineage, her looks, and then walk. So if lineage is involved, then you have to meet everybody in the family.
Not necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily. Like, say, for example, some families, they got a good name in the street. Just like that. She from what family? Oh, mashallah. I said, mashallah. Just like that. You don't necessarily got to meet everybody in her family.
How would you know if you get along with
Well, who?
the rest of her family?
Well, you're not marrying the rest of her. Well, you are, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily have to get along with her whole family. You understand what I'm saying? You don't necessarily have to get along with her entire family, even though that's better, y'all. Is it realistic? Probably not, but it's not necessary. It's not like a condition that you got to meet her whole family. They all got to like you. It's not like that, right? The wali, and once we get to the wali, inshallah, it'll be a lot of detail connected to the job of the wali, the guardian of the woman. Because we always got to keep going back over the difference between a wali and a wakil. Tayyib? Clear? Tayyib. So he could see her more than once until to make sure that, right? And what's this is an assumption, y'all. Assuming the assumption is she's already looking at him. That's the assumption. If she's not looking at him, then she should do what? If she didn't see him, what should she do? She should look at him. She should get a look at him. It's not like the nuther is for the man. No, the nuther, generally, I say a woman is fully covered. You can't see her, right? Generally, she's looking at what she's going to marry. She's looking at the face of the brother she's going to marry. She's seen him. If they met 10 times, 20 times, she's seen his face 20 times. She can tell if something's missing. Or you trimmed your mustache today. All 20 times they sat down, she had an niqab on, right? So she never saw him. So he never saw her, right? So he should see her. MashaAllah. In this case, there are permissible times, and that's a whole issue itself. The whole issue on the niqab is an issue, and when is it allowed for a woman to remove the niqab is another issue. In this case, it would be allowed for her to remove it, just like in the case for if a woman went to court, for example. Say you bring a woman for court, she's a witness, right? How they gonna know if that's her? She got a niqab on. She come in the courtroom. What's your name? Such and such. Are we supposed to take that in a court of law, right? And in that case, it's allowed for her to show her face. Father.
Question is, for the other side of the woman, before I ask that, is this book just the same for the men's marriage, or is it cohesive? Like the book of marriage is the same for both sides? You know how you said the man can look at 4 things. Is a woman allowed to say, like, take your shirt off, I want to see it? I want to ask these questions.
Come on here.
What y'all
Say that again. Hold up, man.
As you said, the men can look at 4 things in regards to the woman, according to the scholar. My question is, in regards to the woman, because she can already see your face, is she allowed to, like,
she can already see your hands too?
Yeah, your hands. But is she allowed to say
you got on sandals so she can see your feet?
But she might want to see a muscle
and your neck.
What I'm saying, can she ask to see those other things? That's what I'm saying.
Like, we ain't get there yet.
All right, let us.
Like, we might have got there. We sit down to luck this.
I have a question regarding quote unquote sit down. So what would you encourage or say to those who have sit downs for a year or plus at a time, and then they don't get married and he or she ends up marrying somebody else?
Nah, get him. Please, Sheikh. I'm sorry. You said he's tripping. You said they sat down, the woman and the brother sitting down for a year?
Year or two.
Okay. And what happened?
And they would decline the marriage. He or she would marry someone else instead of that, time frame they've been.
Did they agree to get married, or they just sitting down?
So there's a difference.
There's a difference.
Okay.
And even if there's no compulsion, like they agree to get married, a person might change their mind. The sit down process, the whole point is to make sure you do the homework necessary to see, okay, do I want to marry this person or not? There is no, you got to be married within 6 months or y'all can't sit down no more. Unless maybe the wali feels like that. I'm not just going to have y'all just sitting down and just, right? Maybe the wali doesn't see any progress. And that's the point of having the wali involved, sisters. The wali is supposed to be involved. You can't let brothers slick talk you into doing like, no, we could just, no. The wali serves a purpose in our religion. It's a male presence that is a need, is needed. The male presence is needed, especially when it comes to marriage. There's certain questions, sisters, that men ask that women don't ask. We got a different way of doing homework, just as men. Okay, the way we check out people is one way, And the way y'all investigate people is another way. Not saying the way y'all investigate people is wrong, but men investigate a little different. And when you cut that investigation of the man out, you lose out. You lose out on a bunch of things that if you would have known that, you probably wouldn't have married him. That's why the wali is so important. But we'll deal with that when we get to the wali, inshallah. طيب. Clear so far? Did I miss anything? طيب. So as it says here, there's no difference. لا خلاف بين الأهل العلم في إباحة النظر إلى وجهها. The scholars don't differ regarding the permissibility of looking at her face, right? When we go beyond the face, right? We said the hands, the feet, the neck. When we go beyond that, according to the author, he says what? Those four things. The other position is that she looks at, based on the hadith, look at it, what is going to encourage you to marry her. What does that mean? It's general, right? And therefore, some they say la bats and yandru ilayha wa ila ma yad'uhu ila nikahiha. There's no problem for him to look at it, and whatever is going to cause him to marry her, min yadin, from her hand, o jismin, or her figure, o nahwi dhalik, or anything other than that, قال أبو بكر ولا بأس أن ينظر إليها عند الخطبة حاسرة, even if she's unveiled, no problem if he sees her unveiled. This is who, y'all? But this is who? When does this happen?
The one that knows that he's.
It's serious. It's serious. We're going to get married. I haven't seen her. I don't know what I'm about to marry. This is when all this takes place. Everybody clear? Sisters, is this clear?
After you've been sitting down for a while.
Yeah, but what's a while after you've been sitting down for a while? A while could vary, y'all. Is a month a while? To some people, a month is a while.
Well, when it get real serious, like
when it gets serious, when it gets serious between y'all, and it looks like y'all get ready to get married, everything, as we say, you need to put everything on the table. Don't come back a week and a half, 2 weeks after y'all got married, and then that's what the investigation process was for, right? That's what the investigation. That's what the sit downs are for. That's what the wali is for. That's what the questions. This, right, brothers? We got to make sure we asking the right questions in the sit down. You know what I'm saying? Sisters too, you got to ask the right questions. We Muslim, y'all. So the person you marrying, man and woman, the automatic assumption is that they do what? Pray. We already pray. We already know you praying. Like if you're not praying, it's not right. Now, the next question is, like a lot of people asking, like, how much Quran do you know? Let me ask you a question. Is your intent for your wife to teach you Quran? I mean, I don't know. It might be. If you're like, how's your Al-Fatiha?
Why can't you study together?
You can, but I'm saying you go to a sit down. You don't know a woman from a can of paint. She tells you, well, I memorized 10 juz. Okay. She memorized 10 juz, and she don't know how to do the things you want her to do as a wife. You want her to cook. She don't know how to cook, but she memorized 10 juz of Quran. Right? But you didn't ask if she know how to cook. You asked her, well, let me hear you Al-Fatiha. How many juz of Quran you know? And she told you everything you asked her. Then you marry her, and she's not that great of a cook, and you want to divorce her. Who you want to divorce for? She can't cook. Well, you didn't know she could cook before you married her? That wasn't a question on the table, right? Sisters, you get it? Same thing. You ask questions that are relevant to what you're looking for. Everybody Muslim, we pray, alhamdulillah. We all need work as far as deen. Everybody needs work. Right? Now, I'm not saying you don't ask, but you got to ask questions that are relevant. Everybody as individual has things that are deal breakers. Sisters, you got deal breakers. I'm not going to be able to deal with that. You need to make sure before you marry the brother that none of those deal breakers are on the table where you're going to want to khula in the next 2 weeks. And you see it in the beginning. And like we always say, if you ignore them red flags in the beginning, they come back. That's on you. You saw it in the beginning before you married her. And then you go on and marry, that's on you. Don't act like you ain't see it. You saw it in the brother before you married him. You knew he was like that before you married him. Then you marry him and the same thing happens, and then we wondering why the marriage is not lasting. If you see the red flag, you got to call a spade, as we say. It is what it is. Either you're going to be able to deal with that or you can't deal with that. So yeah. The last thing connected to the another is the story of Ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, I'm sorry, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, where he proposed to Ibn Ali, the daughter of Ali. طيب. It says, فَذَكَرَ مِنْهَا صِغْرًا. So he didn't know too much about her. And in brief, when he was allowed to look at her, when he was out to get his look for marriage, it says, فَكَشَفَ عَنْ سَاقِهَا. فَكَشَفَ عَنْ سَاقِهَا. Right? Which means, and there was another narration where it mentioned a stick, but it's not mentioned here. He had a stick and he looked at her leg. He looked at her leg. Right? And she said, irsil. She said, basically, let the garment go or let it drop back down. And she said, Lola annaka amirul mu'mineen la latamtu aynak. She said, if you want if you want the leader of the Muslims, I'd have poked your eye out. Right? What does the narration prove? Just want to know what the narration proves.
That she don't have to let him see.
Huh?
That she don't have to let him see that.
Jade. What else? The narration proves she doesn't have to let him see it. What else? What does the narration prove? Huh? Nobody? It's permissible what? It's permissible to see something from the woman other than the 4 things that was mentioned by the author. Everybody say? And this issue is going to come up again when we go through Path of the Wayfarer with the hadith and more detail to it. But these are issues that in our community are issues. So we got to peel them back a little bit and give them a little more detail, inshallah. Tayyib. The author, rahimahullah, he moves on to the next section. He says, وَحَرُمَ تَصْرِيحٌ بِخِطْبَةِ مُعْتَدَّةٍ عَلَى غَيْرِ زَوْجٍ تَحِلُّ لَهُ. He mentions 3 people that it is haram for a man to propose to. Clear? 3 descriptions where a man is not allowed. Haram. What does haram mean, y'all? Haram according to the paper, the definition. Right? So if a man does this, he falls under, right? You got one of these? He got one. A man falls under the definition of haram. He says it is haram to what? To clearly propose to a woman who is in her iddah, who is in her waiting period. Now, some of these issues are going to come later, so it's mentioned in general here, so we'll leave it general, and then we come to them again, we'll do them in detail. When is a woman in iddah? When is a woman in her waiting period? How does a woman get in a waiting period? Divorce. Jade. All right, let's use divorce. A man divorces his wife, right? That means sometimes we say, I placed her in iddah. I put her in iddah. Whatever we say. She's in her waiting period. A man divorces his wife. She's in her waiting period. Tayyib. It is not allowed. It is not allowed, right? Let's just say methalan. I don't want to say it like that, but you heard the sister was divorced. You, right? In this case, she's in her iddah period. While she's in her waiting period, it's not allowed for a man to go and propose to her. To come and clearly say, I want to marry you. I heard you was divorced. I want to marry you. Right? Why not? Huh? Technically, even though she's in her waiting period, she's still married to the man. We ain't get there yet, Sheikh. Huh? Clear? Technically, she's still married to the man. You can't go, brothers, you can't go and propose to another man's wife. She's in iddah. She's in iddah. They still technically married. He can take her back whenever he wants. So as long as she's in that waiting period, then she's still married to her husband, even though they're going through the divorce procedure. Everybody clear? That's a divorce procedure that takes time until it ends. There's one person who can clearly say to this woman that he wants to marry her. Which husband? The one that? Oh man, I ain't know which husband. I just wanted to make clear. The one that did what? The one that divorced her and put her in iddah. He is the only one who can come clearly and say, you know what? I want to marry you back. Other than that, nobody else can come and clearly say that. It's haram. Clear? That's the first person. Tayyib. Well, that's the first one. The second one, tayyib. It is also not allowed It is not allowed to insinuate or to give a hint to a woman, right? A man give a hint to a woman. A hint, y'all. She's an idda. He gives her a hint that he wants to marry her. She's an idda, and he gives off a hint that he wants to marry her. Everybody clear? Example. A man divorces his wife. She's an idda. Can he take her back? All right. This is called raja'iyya. He can take her back. This ain't a word, but I'm just saying. She can be taken back without a new contract and all that. Tayyib, when he divorces her, right? Even though she's divorced, he could take her back. It's almost like the same as the first one. He can't even come and indicate he wants to marry her. He can't even come and give a hint, because a person might say, well, I ain't gonna say it to her directly, but I'm gonna just throw a little, I ain't mean to say it, I'm sorry. He might come and say, he might give a hint that he wants to marry her. Because I heard the brother say, they say that you can't say it directly, but I ain't gonna say it directly. I'm gonna just throw something out there to see. You know what I'm saying? They say, no, he can't do that either. There is a time he can do that, though. There's a time when a man can indicate to a woman that's divorced that he wants to marry her. But this is not the time. Why? Because he's still married to her, right? So he's still technically her wife. He could take her back. So he can't come and directly say, I want to marry you. And he can't come and indirectly throw a hint. Like, man, I sure like to marry a sister like you. You probably be all right. He can't do that because why? In reality, it's the man's wife. He's still married. Tayyib. Khalas, tayyib. He says, thirdly, when you can't propose to a woman, a brother proposes to a woman, because this caused problems. We act like this is real life, y'all. It's a sister. She got a good reputation in the community. Two brothers want to marry her. What's wrong with that? Yeah, they know each other. She's going to marry one of y'all. May the best man, you know what I'm saying? She's going to marry one of y'all. May the best man win. But we want to cut each other off because, man, I wanted to marry her, but she didn't want to marry you. If she didn't want to marry you, another brother married her. All right. The Sahaba divorced some of their wives so that the other ones could, right? We want to cut each other off because of something that's Islamically, it might not even be a problem. So what do they say? They say the khitbah, a man proposes to a woman. She accepts the proposal. And what happens usually? Once people find out they're going to get married, what do? Huh? How they tell her? What they do first? They do what? It's Khalas, we're going to get married. What's the next question? Yeah, I guess so. All right. What else? All they waiting on for now is what? The date. She accepted the proposal. At that point, once the woman accepts, it's not allowed, haram, for you to go and propose to the same woman. No, don't marry him, marry me. Or you might not even say, don't marry him. I'm still trying to get married to you. Whatever you say, knowing, it's different if you don't know. It's different if the man doesn't know. But a man knows that they're supposed to get married on the 1st of November. He like, dang. I slept. He like, I slept. Let me just go see. No, that's haram at that point. Right? At that point, it's haram. If he didn't know that she accepted, then can he go propose to her? Yes. If he doesn't know, oh, my bad, I didn't know you accept. I didn't know. Or what if he proposed to her, but she never responded? Huh? He proposes to her, but she never responded. Yes, she's still available. Yeah, people think that we think that because she locked in. Oh yeah, I'm sitting down with her. Because you sitting down with her doesn't mean anything. Like, all right, you sitting down. She could be sitting down, because this is another question that comes up. A woman could be sitting down with multiple men at the same time. Islamically, nothing prohibits that. A man could be sitting down with more than one wife at the same time. What I said? More than one woman. I'm sorry. All right. I'm not saying that's the. I'm saying the question always comes up. Sisters. I heard questions come. Sisters again. When he's sitting down with a bunch of sisters. Well, maybe you might not be like. I'm just saying, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he don't see what he's looking for. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Islamically, is it allowed for a man? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about what's the best thing to do. We're not talking about if a person do that they intention. If a man sat down with more than one woman, is that haram Islamically? No, we can't say that's haram. Is that the best thing? That's a different conversation. Tayyib?
So a woman, she can sit with multiple men.
Yeah. More than one man could propose to the same woman. If she's really, mashallah, then it might be 4 or 5 people proposing to the sister. If she has a good reputation and the community knows and everybody knows, she might have a good reputation and 4 or 5 brothers propose to the same woman.
She don't have to tell you that.
No. She doesn't have to tell you, well, such and such just came and he proposed to me. She don't have to do that. If you find out if you find out, subhanAllah, well, we don't own people. Number one, you're not even married. So there is no. Everybody's. We do that when we get to the wali. Tayyib. So they said that the proposal, once you can't propose to a woman, once another man has proposed to her and she accepted the proposal. Clear? If she didn't accept, then it's allowed. So therefore, it could be 2 men proposing to 1 woman, right? And she chooses however that goes. Clear? Any questions? Tayyib. He says, وَسُنَّ عَقْدُهُ يَوْمَ الْجُمْعَةِ مَسَاءً بَعْدَ خُطْبَةِ ابْنِ مَسْعُودٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ. He says it's recommended. Everybody knows sunnah, right? Sunnah is what?
Assalamu
alaikum.
Is it permissible for the brother to marry more than one wife at the same time? Like exactly the same. We all sitting at the table. He like, I want all of y'all now.
MashaAllah. Generally, is it permissible for a man to marry more than one woman at the same time? Generally, yes. As long as there's no manner preventing that from happening. It could be something that prevents that from happening. Does anybody know? Take a guess. Why wouldn't a man be able to marry 2 women at the same time? Not you. Astaghfirullah. Huh? They sisters. It's not permissible to marry 2 sisters at the same time. So he can't marry 2 sisters at the same time, like blood sisters. Blood sisters. Say they twins. Let's marry both of y'all. You can't do that because you can't marry 2 sisters, right? So in that case, he wouldn't be able. But generally, it wouldn't be no problem if a man married more than one woman at the same time on the same day. Everybody clear? Tayyib. It says recommended, which means. Sit down.
Question. So if the brother decided to do that, how will he consummate the marriage? Like, how would that go if a brother decided to marry 2 women at the same time? How would it go as far as the dowry, the days?
Well, it all depends. There's no one answer for that. They might, whatever they came up with is an agreement. There's nothing etched in stone. Everybody's going to have a dowry anyway. Everybody's going to get nights anyway. Everybody's going to get what they're entitled to get, right? Now, how they work it out is going to be on them to come up with a plan. They have to work that out. Him and his 2 wives or 3 wives, however many it is, they work that out. There's nothing etched in stone that it has to be this one, this one. Everybody clear? Tayyib. So it's recommended to do the nikah, the marriage on a Friday. Masa'an, in the evening. And after a person has recited the khutbah al-hajjah that we hear every Friday in Jummah. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inu wa astaghfiruhu wa natubu ilayhi wa na'udhu billah. Right? It's recommended to do that during the marriage, at the marriage contract. Meaning, if a person didn't get married on a Friday, is it a problem? Why not? Because it's recommended, right? There's no punishment attached to if a person didn't do it. If a person got married on a Friday, but they got married Friday morning, it says Masatin. They didn't get married Friday evening. They got married Friday morning. Is it a problem? What's the benefit of getting married Friday evening? Huh? More people. Sunnah. What's the benefit of getting married on Friday after Jumu'ah? Huh? In the evening. Jumu'ah is like in the afternoon. What's the benefit of getting married on a Friday evening? Save them, sisters. What's the benefit of getting married on a Friday evening? Yeah, but it was the best day of the week all day. Why the evening? There we go. Don't pull too further, y'all. Y'all gonna pull the joint down. Huh? Yes. Dang, Shake, you jump to the. Hold up, man. No, I'm messing with you. Anybody? Friday. We know that it's a Friday. Saajid Stijaba. There's an hour on a Friday that the dua is answered, right? So there's an hour on Friday that the dua is answered. So they say it's recommended to get married during that hour. Allahu Akbar. SubhanAllah. Allahu Akbar. Tayyib. I don't know if we should. I guess we could do 3 more lines. 4. Tayyib. Friday. Tayyib. All right, and we only gonna do this part because the shurut are a little longer. I don't want to break them up. Tayyib. Next, we move to the arkanuhu, the pillars of the marriage contract. This is what I forgot to mention. And a contract is 2 sides, right? It's 2 sides in the contract. Everybody benefits, right? In contracts, everybody benefits. Everybody with me? Tayyib. In a marriage, what are we benefiting from? Because if I'm selling phones or something, right? I sell you a phone, you get a brand new phone, I get money. In a marriage, what are we in the contract? Once we make the contract, what's the benefit in the contract?
Being able to be together, man and woman.
Jade, the man and woman being able to be intimate together, being able to have pleasure from one another, being able to touch and have pleasure from one another. That's the benefit of the contract. Without that contract, the women outside of our families are what? Haram. We can't see them, we can't touch them, right? That contract allows that woman for that man and that man for that woman that they're able to be intimate, right? Alone, in private, behind closed doors. They can uncover in front of each other. That's what the contract does. And past that, intimacy, right? Manfa'atul istimta', that they can seek pleasure from one another, right? At base. What else does the woman get?
Security.
Huh?
Safety.
Hold on, let me time out. Sisters, what are you entitled to when you marry a man? I need on the mic. Brothers got to hear y'all. They might not, they need to hear this. Huh? Oh, he said it's time to call it then. The sisters, when you marry somebody, what is he responsible? What are you entitled to?
Dowry.
A dowry. Tell you, what else? Maintenance. All right, keep going. What else? What is maintenance? Are y'all on the mic?
There's something about clothing.
Food, shelter, and clothing.
I can't hear y'all. Say it again.
Get on the mic.
I ain't ordered that mic. Y'all gotta use that, John.
Tell them they gotta get on the mic, man.
What are y'all entitled to? A dowry and what else?
Food, shelter, and clothing.
Food, shelter, and clothing. That's a haq, right? That's what they're. Oh, that's who's that on, sisters? That's for who? Who is responsible for that? Huh? The husband is responsible to clothe, feed, and give his wife shelter. Right? That comes along with the marriage contract. Tayyib, sisters, what comes for the man? What does the man get out of the marriage contract? And then we do the brothers. What does the man get out of the marriage contract, sisters, from the woman? What is he entitled to?
The mic back there.
The mic broke. What is the man entitled to? It's important because we be having mixed We be having things in our brain that we think we're owed and we're not, and things that we don't know we're owed. So what does the man entitled to, sisters, when you marry him? What is he entitled to from you? Y'all want to tell the brothers? Y'all want the brothers to tell y'all? Y'all, huh?
How they don't know?
No, somebody got to know over there. Nobody knows? I'm sure all the brothers over here know we responsible for food, clothing, and shelter. I'm sure about that. No khilaf. So nobody over there knows what the man is entitled to? Hold on.
Intimacy.
Huh?
Intimacy.
Intimacy, okay. That's mutual. What else? La ilaha illallah. No, Sheikh. Huh? I can't hear y'all. Intimacy, okay. We're not calling the advance, so y'all might as well.
Taking care of the household, the children.
Taking care of the house.
Any.
You said taking care of the household, the children, and what was the third one? Did you say something else? I'll tell you. Huh? Anybody else? Anybody else? Huh? Why what? I can't hear what they said. The brothers want to tell them? I would prefer y'all to tell the brothers. What do they owe? What is the man entitled to, y'all? Obedience. Ta'ah. What does obedience mean, though? What does it mean that a person is obedient? Because we got like this, Allah Mustaan. This is another thing, y'all. We got to think like Muslims. Our mentality has to be an Islamic mentality. We think like Muslims. We don't think like non-Muslims. We're Muslims. We think like Muslims. We have to think like Muslims. Okay? What does it mean for a person? Because you say obedience, some people face cringe up. What do you mean obedient? What does it mean to be obedient?
It means to like obey his commands if it's not in disobedience to Allah.
Jade. It means to obey his commands as long as what he's requesting from his wife is not anything that's disobedient to Allah. And in reality, that means the man is what? Huh? Sisters? In reality, the man is what? If a woman does that, then she has done what? She has made the man what?
Hey, the mic.
Huh?
They broke the mic.
They ain't break the mic. He's made the man. What have you made the man? If the man is, if you do that, long as he's not telling you to be disobedient to Allah, he's not telling you to do anything haram, right? In that case, the man has become what? Huh? The leader of the house. The leader. He's become the leader, right? Does it mean a man can have a sit down and have a conversation with his wife and see what she thinks about it, and they have a discussion? I think this is better. You probably want to do it like this. Does it mean that they can't do that? It doesn't mean that. But there has to be a level of, okay, this is the man of the house. He's in control. He's running it, right? That's what I've done. He's not telling me to do anything haram. If he tell you to do something haram, like, no, don't cover like that. I like me with a tight overgarment. Like, no, it's haram. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised that a Muslim man would say to his Muslim wife, I prefer you not to wear a khimar. Haram, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about basic, a man running a household, right? That comes with the marriage contract, right? And the problem is a lot of times, that's not understood between the man and the woman that get married. And that's a problem on both sides. The man is expecting her to let him lead, but she's not expecting for him to lead because she's used to leading herself. She's not used to somebody leading her, maybe. So it's difficult for her to like move out of the position of being a leader and letting somebody else lead. And the man he automatically thinks, well, it's my wife. I'm gonna just lead. No, she doesn't really know how to fall back and let a man lead, right? And he's expecting her to let him lead. That's a problem. It's gonna be a problem. Whether it's in a month or 3 months or 6 months, that's gonna be a problem. Because the expectation, just like a woman expects that when she marries her husband, the expectation is food, clothing, and shelter. And if he doesn't come with food, clothing, and shelter, she right at the masjid. Yo, he ain't, what's the word? Maintenance. He ain't giving me my maintenance. Right? It's expectations from both sides that got to be put on the table before y'all marry. And when it's not put on it, when it's left general, like maintenance and that kind of talk, when it's left real general, it's always a problem later.
So it's okay for the man to come to the masjid too and say, I ain't getting my obedience.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's okay for a man to come to masjid and say, well, my wife is not obeying me. She's not letting me lead. It's not. This is what we should do, y'all. We should look up words like obedience. And we should look, what does Islam say? What does Islam say about the importance of a man, the husband? What does Islam say about the importance of the woman? Islamically, not the internet. Not the internet. What does Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam say about the importance of a woman in Islam? What does the Sharia say about the importance of a man, a husband in Islam? We got to start there. We starting with stuff that's not even Islamically. These are not even Islamic concepts. To deem our wives or our women not important, to deem our Muslim women that they're not important is not even an Islamic concept. We don't find that in the Quran and the Sunnah, that our women are not important. When the man asked the Prophet ﷺ, who's most deserving of my best character, my best treatment? He said, who? The mother, not once, 3 times. The woman, the Muslim woman is super important. It's not in the Islamic the Islamic Sharia that the woman, or the Muslim woman is not important. Everybody understand that? Yeah, because Allah entrusted us with a responsibility. Not that you just telling her, no, that you be just as a husband in leading. And if we're not, whether it's 1 wife or 2 or 3 wives, at the end of the day, the man has to answer if he's oppressing his wife. It don't matter if he has 1 wife, 2 wives, or 2 wives or 3 wives. Either way, the man is going to be responsible, right? The same thing on the opposite side, right? The man expects that the woman is going to be what? She's going to follow his lead. So when she doesn't follow his lead, there's a problem, right? It's a problem. Allah musta'an. Is everybody clear? Any questions? And a lot of that stuff is supposed to take place. We might not be able to do the arkan. It's too long. Huh? I don't want to go overboard, overkill. Tayyib, yallah. The pillars of Friday. The pillars of the marriage contract. The marriage contract has pillars, right? That have to be in place. Just like the salat has pillars, right? The salat has pillars and the marriage contract has pillars. It says the first pillar, al-zawjani al-khaliyani min al-mawani', that the 2 spouses, the man and the woman, they can't have anything preventing them from getting married. It can be nothing preventing the man from getting married. What prevents a man from getting married, y'all? He already has 4 wives. If he has 4 wives already, he comes to sit down with you and he say, well, I want to marry you tomorrow. And he already has 4 wives. He can't get married. I mean, he's not available for marriage. Clear? That's something that prohibits the man from being able to marry. What prohibits a woman from being able to marry? Good. She's already married, or she's in iddah. She's in her waiting period. A man comes to her. She's already married. Khalas, it's end of discussion. Right? Let's just say you're walking down the street. You in a Family Dollar, the line is always long at Family Dollar. So a sister come in or a brother come in, either one. A brother comes in or a sister comes in. I've been looking for her, or I've been looking for him. Is it permissible to go talk to that person? Let's be more specific. Is it permissible to go up to that man or to go up to that woman and ask them if they're married? It's permissible? Tayyib. Huh? How else would you know if she's married or not? All right? It's permissible. You go up to her, you ask with respect. Nothing, no funny stuff. Assalamu alaikum, are you married? Yes, khalas. End of discussion. You ain't gotta laugh, you ain't gotta giggle, you ain't gotta, I'm gonna buy it, I got it. Just put it all up there. And give her You know what I mean? Give her some Skittles too, Shay. Put some Skittles up there too. It's nothing more than that. Are you married? Yes. Khalas. Are you married? No. Now what? Hold on, y'all. Sisters, the brother comes to you. He asks you, are you married? You say no. What happens after that? What's supposed to happen?
You should give him your wali's number.
MashaAllah. Exactly. You give him your wali's number. Not your number under your wali's number. Don't put your number on the paper. Because if he's decent, he's going to throw the paper in the trash. Because what that does is to a man, it categorizes you. You left it open. You put your wali number in there, but you put your number on there. Now y'all tell me if I'm tripping. To me, that means call me or my wali. We men. You don't put your phone number on there. You open up the door for the shaitan. Right? You give him your wali's number. It's in the discussion. There's nothing else to talk about. We're not robots, y'all. It's real. You see a person, they ask you married. No, I'm not married. Can I get your wali number? Here it is. Khalas. And then you do it the right way. Tayyib. So the man and the woman can't have anything preventing them from being married. Secondly, ijab. There has to be what's called the ijab. The ijab is the offer to a man. So they sit down, it's two people, no problem if they get married. The man has to be offered the sister. He can't just come in and say, yeah, I'm marrying her. Right? Someone has to offer her off, marry her off, as we say. Everybody clear? And they say the ijab, the laf and kahtu or zawajtu, which is I marry you to sister such and such. Basically, I marry you to sister such and such. That's what the wali is going to say to the husband, the proposed husband. All right. The man can't just come in there and say, I'll marry her. And they marry like that. No, you have to be offered. There's an offer going to come from the wali. Right? That's the second pillar. Clear? So the first thing is neither the man or the woman can't have anything blocking them from getting married. The second thing, the wali offers you her, as they say, offers you her hand in marriage. Right? And just because he offers, are they married? They're not married until what? Till he accepts, and that's the third pillar. He has to accept it. He has to say, I accept the marriage. Qabiltu in Arabic. Right? Everybody clear? No man could just come and say, I'll marry her, and they marry from there. A wali doesn't offer, I offered her marriage, so yeah, they married. No, there has to be an offer and an acceptance. Once the offer and acceptance, in that case, then they're married. But man jahilahuma, whoever doesn't know these words in Arabic, right? Whoever doesn't know these words in Arabic, it says la yalzamhu ta'allum. They're not obliged to go learn it in Arabic before they can get married, but they're allowed to say it in their original language that points to the same meaning. I marry you to sister such and such. He says, I accept the marriage. Khalas, they married. The ulama emphasize these two words, ankahtu or zawajtuka, because in qabiltu in Arabic, because those are the words mentioned in the Quran. So they emphasize using those words in the marriage contract. What if people don't know Arabic? Like people don't know Arabic. It's not like, oh, well, because you don't know the two Arabic words, y'all not gonna be able to get married. No, they're able to say it in English, right? And it carries the same meaning. Clear? Oh, that's it. Khalas. That's it, because the next part of the conditions, and there are 4 conditions for the marriage contract to be valid, but we'll stop there, inshallah. Fadal.
In regards to the pillars, being as though they're pillars, so any of these are missing, the marriage is.
Jade. He said regarding the pillars, how many pillars are there? How many pillars? 4 or 3?
What you just went over?
Yeah.
4?
Nah. 5? Dang. Hold on.
I just heard this.
What's the first pillar? Nothing preventing the two from marrying. Nothing preventing the wife from marrying. Nothing preventing the man from marrying. Right? What's the second pillar? The offer. What's the third pillar? That's it. 3 pillars. If they're not all there, there is no marriage contract. So what does that mean? A man comes and he say, I'll marry you off to Khadijah. You look him in his face and walk off. Are they married? No. They're not married. Right? Or a man comes and say, I'll marry Khadijah. I'm marrying her. I'll marry her. The wali sitting there looking at you like, right? He never says anything. First of all, he never offered. Are they married? No. So all the pillars have to be in order for the contract to be valid. Clear? Further.
The second part, you said the man is responsible for the clothing, shelter, etc. Right?
Yes.
If those conditions isn't met, is the woman allowed to not come to her husband in bed, or etc. like that? If he doesn't do these things, can she reject him in bed?
I asked was the man is responsible for the clothing, shelter, etc. If these conditions isn't met in the marriage, can the woman reject her husband if he calls her to the bed?
We ain't get there yet. And we're going to get there, inshallah. That's a good question, though. That's a good question. Try not to miss any classes, y'all. A lot of this stuff is connected. But it's a chapter coming. We want to basically what we want to do is lay the foundation first. Know what the foundation is. And then, because what we don't want to do, y'all, is live off of the exception. We got to learn the rules first. And then when the exception comes, we can apply the exception. Right? Today, what we know is what? The man is responsible for what? Food, clothing, and shelter, which we call maintenance, which we deal with that when it come back around. The woman is responsible for what? Her being obedient to the husband, allowing the husband to be a leader of the household. Right? Of course, the intimacy is mutual. The woman benefits from being intimate with her husband, and the man benefits from being intimate with his wife. Right? Any other questions? Sisters, any questions before we stop? Yes. I'm sorry. بلبان. This is أقصى المختصرات. Ibn Balban, الدمشقي الحنبلي. Sisters, any questions? If there's no more questions, next week we'll start with the shurut, the conditions of the marriage contract, and those are 4 conditions. And this is when the wali comes into play and the other things under the shurut, under the conditions for the marriage contract to be valid. Inshallah. Khalas. Sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Further, keep it. You can keep it. Oh, you got one?